Have you ever wondered why BlackRock and Blackstone, two of the biggest financial firms in the world, two of the most powerful firms in the world, are named what they are? Well, there's a reason, and it has to do with the occult, and it has to do with something specifically known as Saturn worship. And this is both fucked up and very interesting. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of an overview of it here, and then give you some examples of where else this shit manifests in your everyday lives, because this is a very popular thing. It seems to be, especially in sort of the entertainment world and the business corporate world, the in fucking government. So uh, it's bad stuff. So let's just jump into it. So looking around for it, I found this book, and it's called The Cult of the Black Cube. And what this is a grimoire, which is basically a satanic cookbook that talks about how to practice Saturn worship. And the way this guy describes it on some website called The Skeptical Occultist, I think it was, is this is for people who are trying to find a being whose origins are in many ways similar to the Luciferian path, but without the Abrahamic inclinations and Judeo Christian mindset involved in the devotion of Lucifer itself. So, what he's saying is that he wants to have all the all the trappings of Satan, but not all those Judeo Christian hangups about actually, worshiping Satan. So this is Saturn worship, by the way. And then he also says that they draw extensively on the Arabic texts of Garat al Hakim and whatever the fuck that is. But I mean, you've probably noticed the Kaaba in Mecca is in a large black cube, and I'll show you some examples of how this is. There's a connection here. All right. Now, also, disturbingly, he says the traditions that have long surrounded Saturn and his surrogates involved a kind of temporal darkness of the mind that may ward off those not prepared for such an intensive path, involving blood sacrifice, emotional insecurity, and stages of complete mental alienation. Yeah, just in case you're not prepared for blood sacrifice. And this is the inside of the book, and I'm going to show you something that's written right here inside the cover as well, which might ring a bell. So it's kind of hard to see here, but right here on the inside cover, it has this Latin phrase, and then it has it in English, and it says, "Now comes the final era of the Sibyl's song. The new world order is born, and now justice returns. Saturn's reign returns. Now a new lineage is sent down from high heaven." So, in case you missed that, inside the fucking blood sacrifice occult Saturn worship manual is straight away the new world order is born. So just keep this in mind. All right, and then from Wikipedia, so we can just give you the mainstream take here as well. Um, Talking about Saturn, in the ancient Roman sense, he was described as a god of time, generation, dissolution, abundance, wealth, agriculture, periodic renewal, and liberation. And Saturn's mythological reign was depicted as a golden age of abundance and peace. So these people are trying to bring about a new golden age in which they think they're going to reign as like some sort of fucking Brahmin priest class of Satanists and just treat the rest of us like cattle. But then they talk about this blood sacrifice element here as well when they talk about the cult outside of Rome. And they say the potential cruelty of Saturn was enhanced by his identification with Kronos, the Greek time of God, or god of time, known for devouring his own children. He was thus used in translation when referring to gods from other cultures the Romans perceived as severe. He was equated with the Carthaginian god Baal, Haman, to whom children were sacrificed, and to Yahweh, whose Sabbath was referred to as Saturnidius, Saturn's day. And they said, besides being a popular cult, it also had the character of a mystery religion and required child sacrifices. So there's a theme here, and no, Yahweh is not Saturn, but there is a strain of Judaism called Kabbalah, which is very popular amongst these people too. And I don't know, but I'm willing to bet that there's a good bit of crossover. All right. So, anyways, and down here they say also the revelries of Saturnalia were supposed to reflect the conditions of the lost golden age again, before the rule of Saturn was overthrown. And then they fell from grace, and they have to live with us plebes or plebs. My wife says it's plebs, and they want to change that shit. Okay, now we get into the weird shit. If that wasn't weird. So here you have the book, right, that we just looked at, the fucking Saturn Death Worship Black Cube Cult. And notice the shape of this of this fucking cube, right? When you're looking directly at one of the fucking corners straight on. It is basically it's basically this. It's this. Let me see. Do I have a thing I can use? Pointer? No, I'm in Google Sheets or Google Slides. All right, but if you notice this Star of David looking thing up here in the upper right, I guess top middle, that cube is actually it fits right in the center of this hexagonal shape, and Masons and occultists are absolutely obsessed with fucking like sacred geometry and shit like that. And if you have ever watched Randall Carlson, he's been on Joe Rogan quite a bit, and he's pretty devastated that the Georgia Guidestones got blown up. Like, it's very weird. Go to his channel and find that. Like, his reaction is fucking bizarre. He loves those things. He's got these little pets of his that do the show with him, and they're talking about how cool it was. But that's a weird guy, man. I don't trust him. But anyways, this matters to them, and his whole show, all he talks about is fucking sacred geometry and like numerology and crap. Like, it's very, very real to them. So this is not really a Star of David. This is more an occult sort of symbol, and you can see it right next to it in this black rectangle. I wish I'd gotten myself a fucking laser pointer thing for this. This same shape is repeated over and over again in all these various occult symbols. And the first one is Thelema, which is Aleister Crowley's satanic bullshit. The second one is Masons. This third one is really the Seal of Solomon, and people will say that's the Star of David. It's not really. That's not why it's a star. That's not like your most recognizable Jewish symbol. Like, it could have been like a chai or something, or I don't know. Fucking, this is an occult thing. Like, this is a Kabbalah type thing. And then next to that, you have the sign of Saturn. And I'll talk at the very end of this about why they use these things called sigils, but it's for fucking black magic. And then next to that, you have the sign of Lucifer, which incorporates a lot of the same sort of, I don't know, design. So there you have that. And then if you look in the bottom right, this is a really weird fucking thing. So Saturn, on one of its poles, has this fucking hexagon that has these straight sides to it. And this is real. And you can see pictures of it. And I imagine if you have a telescope, a good telescope, you could probably go look at this. But it happens to fucking be associated, like this very bizarre feature on Saturn seems to be associated with this fucking geometry, which is attached to this Greek Roman god. And it's fucking weird, man. Like, how would they be able to see this way back in the day? I mean, maybe there was like some civilization pre-flood or something that I was capable of seeing this, and they got that knowledge passed down. But very bizarre that they know or associate this hexagon with Saturn. But I mean, you could find people who are really into this shit talking about it. So I'm not pulling this out of my ass. I'm just referring to things that these people say. All right. Now, here's some examples. So my favorite two, the ones I opened with on the far right here, are BlackRock and Blackstone. So these things are associated with fucking Saturn because that cube is they think this is darkness, right? Like, they associate it with darkness, and they associate it with this cube. So BlackRock and Blackstone, they're named because of this. And now you see all these examples just around the world. You see this black cube just standing right there in Australia, which, believe it or not, is a hub of Luciferianism in the world. And a lot of that has to do with the CIA running MK Ultra and setting up a bunch of cults in all these other Anglosphere countries, which is a whole nother discussion. But it's fucking big there, man. And you have this other one in Manhattan. No surprise. And then you have the Kaaba in Mecca, which is very interesting. I've always kind of wondered what the deal was with this just big black cube that everybody walks around. It seems a little bit inconsistent. I don't know, with not worshiping idols. I don't know. I'm not really a theologist, but it seems weird. And then at the bottom, you have on the left, you have this same thing in Denmark, and I don't know about this Apple Store thing, but you can find examples of this shit everywhere. Of this is statues of black cubes. Okay, um, now we can find it in some logos. And now that you've seen this and you know these people are extremely into it, and I'm not saying all these fucking companies are into Saturn worship, but I do think their marketing people or whoever made the designs are channeling black magic. And I do think some of these people really are into like Saturn worship. Like the BlackRock people, they're into fucking they're into that shit. Now, if you look at some of these other ones, like the recycling sign, this is they designed it, I'm pretty sure, because of this. And I'll show you another symbol that's very similar later on that is definitely trying to bring some of this Saturnalia type shit in. So you have the recycling sign. Then below it, you have Nike, which is pretty well known as supposed to be like the rings, the swoosh going around Saturn. Um, Another pretty clear one on NOV, the Internet Explorer sign. And nowadays, Internet Explorer is 666, but or Edge, whatever the replacement was. And then Toyota has that feel, whatever this Access Media Group, Boeing, like look into Jack Parsons and like these people who started the JPL, like the people who started NASA, like a lot of Nazis that were brought over during Operation Paperclip who were very much occultists. A lot of that shit, a lot of overlap. And then Capital One, no surprise in the banks, right? They love their Saturn worship, Bud Light. And then weird when you get into video games. So Nintendo GameCube, if you recall, Sega Saturn. I mean, maybe it's because they're they're doing black magic on your kids to get them all fucking distracted and brainwashed by video games. And then there's NASA, and I don't know. I guess there could be Saturn in there. They just orbit a lot, I guess. But I don't know. I mean, Saturn is also a planet, but NASA is very very heavily influenced by Nazi rocket scientists that we brought over after World War II, who are also very dark occultists. So don't discount it. All right, now this is why they do shit like this. So they talk about chaos magic, and this is like part of why they wrote that grimoire that I showed earlier, is because they believe that they're doing some sort of fucking like magic. They think they're either channeling or fucking utilizing some energy to make things happen in a certain way, or they take like a more psychoanalytical approach to it. Either way, they are using symbols to do fucking magic. So they say in chaos magic, following this guy, sigils are commonly created by writing an intention, then condensing the letters of the statement down to a form of a monogram, which you see on the right. So it's like a magical symbol for some idea. The magician acknowledges a desire, he lists the appropriate symbols, and arranges them into an easily visualized glyph. And now, where it gets relevant to the examples I'm showing, corporate sigils are super breeders, whatever that means. They attack unbranded imaginative space. They invade Red Square. They infest the cranky streets of Tibet. They etch themselves into hairstyles. They breed across clothing, turning people into advertising hoardings. The logo or brand, like any sigil, is a condensation, a compressed symbolic summoning of the world of desire which the corporation intends to represent. Walt Disney died long ago, but his sigil, the familiar cartoonish signature, persists, carrying its own vast weight of meaning, associations, nostalgia, and significance. So, again, some of these corporations are fucking occult and evil, and they are doing this consciously, like BlackRock and Blackstone, and probably Disney. And some hire advertisers who, let's be honest, if they're really into their art, they're probably fucking into this shit. Because, I mean, advertising is kind of black magic. All right, so let's look at it. And I'm pretty convinced that that's why these symbols look like they do. And at Google, you'll see that they're really into this. So I think that Google is, I think they know what they're doing. Really, the tech industry knows what it's doing. I mean, they think they're doing magic. So you see the Apple App Store, very, very similar to the fucking Mason thing. You see the Google Chrome one, that's pretty famous. It's the 666. The Gmail thing is the Mason's apron. I mean, you see the fucking the eye everywhere. And they say the Google Play Store is this pyramid, but it's also very similar to that Lucifer sigil. And then Facebook is also another Masonic thing. But if you look down at the bottom at browser, these browser things, like this is really fucking popular with browsers, which makes you want to consider, I don't know, what browser you're using. So obviously Chrome 666. You have Internet Explorer there with the Saturn. You have something that's suspiciously looking like a eye or a portal to hell with Opera. I don't know what this other one is here with the Saturn, but that's pretty straightforward. You got this all-seeing eye slash 666 slash possibly Saturn thing here with the squirrel. Also don't know what that is. Maybe you do, but that looks evil as fuck. And then you have a Saturn Explorer's replacement, Edge, with another 666, and who knows? Maybe Saturn. There's crossover, guys. Like, it can be Saturn and 666. And then Brave. I'm just going to go ahead and say the Brave is good because tend to use that. Obviously not here. I'm using Google Slides. All right. Then you can see other weird shit. So, like I mentioned, Kabbalah, sort of like an offshoot of Judaism that just delves into some evil numerology and mysticism. You see this monster can uses this Hebrew letter, and I guess I cut it off. So fuck. That's too bad. You can't see the one that it's supposed to be. Either way, that's it stands for 6. And like this is it. It looks like this. And so it's 666. Like they say it's claws. Maybe it's 666. I mean, they got some other fucking rune shit going on here, right? And then you got like Vodafone, they got 6s all over. They got the one on top, and then each of the O's is another 6. You got CBS, that very blatant all-seeing eye. NVIDIA, the all-seeing eye. Time Warner, man, that one is fucking evil looking, right? Like you got a 666 there. You got the all-seeing eye. It's not too vaguely reminiscent of the whole PEDO fucking sign. Like, man, Time Warner is fucked. Hope we don't work there. And then we have the U.S. government. It's also into this shit. Like, it's the Information Awareness Office of DARPA is not too subtle. You have an all-seeing eye on top of a pyramid, seeing all of Earth. That's fun. And then, again, I wish I had a laser pointer going here. But if you see the seal of the U.S. Army, the stars in the blue field above the eagle's head in that circle, it's that is also in that hexagonal shape. And I have one of these in my office, and I had noticed that for a while, and it looks really clear when you see it like in, I don't know, a 3D thing. But yeah. And then like 13, I know it's the number of colonies, the original number of colonies, but it's also like a very significant number in masonry and esoteric shit. And there are 13 stars up here in the shape of a hexagon, or the inside of the hexagon, right? And or I guess the shape that has a hexagon in it. And then you have 13 leaves on this olive branch. You have 13 arrows. You have 13 tail feathers on the bird. I mean, it's not just because of the 13 colonies. And like, did they break the Carolinas apart to make for a 13th? Sounds plausible. Just speculating. And then here's NATO. And listen, like, you might say this is a stretch, but NATO, the U.S., all of NATO countries, like we brought a whole lot of Nazis over after World War II, and they ran shit. Like they have Werner von Braun ran a big section of NASA in where is it? Huntsville, Alabama. There's a Werner von Braun Stadium or Center. It's a big fucking stadium named after this former Nazi slash rocket scientist slash NASA guy slash U.S. military industrial complex fucking bigwig. And there's plenty of other ones. Like we brought over tons of Nazis, and they influenced the shit out of us after World War II. So, given their love for symbolism, and that I mean, they didn't just pick this for no reason, right? Like the symbolism means something, and it probably means multiple things. They have a cover story, and then they have the not cover story. I think this is plausible. And then you get into where it's they're not really hiding it, and this is relevant because like these are the globalists like in the flesh. Like this is the core here. Um, and I told you like this is very similar to the recycling symbol here. And so this is why I think the recycling symbol probably was designed around this because I'll talk about it in a second. But look at the Trilateral Commission, which is basically I think it was the Rockefellers. They're trying to bring together sort of Europe and the West and Japan and the U.S. or whatever, and basically get them all on board with the same globalist bullshit. And they have this very similar to recycling symbol, which also makes a 666, which they love. And so does recycling symbol right here. And just a tidbit of info, a little fun fact, is that a sister organization of the Trilateral Commission, which is the Club of Rome, basically invented the idea of using environmentalism as a way to tax and control the world, saying that carbon is a pollutant or whatever. I mean, they wrote a book about it called The Limits of Growth. You can go find that. You can read it. You can look it up, research it, whatever. They invented that shit. I mean, there's pollution, there's environmental damage, but it's not about this. So I very much think that this is supposed to have some sort of fucking sigil magic crap. And then CERN, yeah, they have their particle collider and their 666 sign and their whatever their fucking Krishna statue outside where they do human sacrifices, and the good old World Economic Forum, who's doing their Great Reset with their 666 thing with that line going through those O's, making the 666. They love it. And then there's the Great Reset itself. Now, you can say this is a fucking stretch, but if you go to thegreatreset.com, you have basically an apologist's website for the Great Reset. And look how they write it. Like, is there a fucking, that's supposed to be like an underscore or like a cursor or whatever? Like, why would it be there? I mean, if it was there, like you would be making a space, right? You're separating Re and Set. So in Italian, Re means king, and Set is an Egyptian god that's basically equated with the devil, with Satan. So as you can see here in the Temple of Set, which is I think famed Satanist Michael Aquino set that up, but it's a Satanist organization out in the open. It's a secret society, but it's a known Satanist temple. So there, yeah, I think I've heard this posited before, and I think that it's possible. I mean, if you take that and then that and that, then there you go. Great Ray Set, the great God King Satan. Creepy, right? So that's basically all I wanted to go through. But I wanted to start off with just an idea of why they're doing this, like why they do all these symbols and they put it in logos and crap, and what it means to them. And I don't know. This, if you are questioning whether this shit is sinister, like I'm not saying everybody involved in this shit is sinister. Some people are probably brainwashed or just dumb, but a lot of this shit is fucking sinister. Okay. People have told me to get a new mic. I ordered one, but I can't use it on my desktop because it's just fitting into my iPhone. So I need to order another one. So I apologize for the audio. And let's see. That's it. But please like, share, and subscribe. And hope you enjoyed the content.